They say love can make you do anything. But what if the price of love is your own body? Ijeoma was a woman of faith, loyal, gentle, and true. She would have done anything to save her husband's life, and she did. But what she thought was an act of love became a sin that would haunt her forever. This is not just a story, it's a warning. Because sometimes the person you trust the most is the one who destroys you the deepest. Watch till the end, because what happened after will break your heart. The sun was going down in Umuokwe village. Birds were singing, children were playing, and the smell of roasted yam filled the air. Inside a small but neat house, Ijeoma and her husband Obinna sat on a wooden bench, eating dinner from the same plate. Their laughter filled the room. Obinna looked at his wife and smiled. "Ijeoma, my love, one day you will drive your own car. You will wear fine clothes and never worry about money again." Ijeoma laughed softly. "Obinna, you already make me proud. We have peace. That is more than gold." Obinna reached across the table and held her hand. "Ijeoma, you are my strength. If not for you, I would have given up long ago." She smiled shyly. "And if not for you, I would have no reason to wake up every morning." They both laughed, their love clear to anyone who saw them. They prayed together that night and thanked God for their blessings. But as they slept, a strange wind blew outside. A dog barked non-stop. Ijeoma sat up, worried. "Obinna, do you hear that?" "It sounds strange." Obinna turned on the bed. "It's nothing, my love. Sleep. Tomorrow will be a good day." He had no idea that tomorrow would change everything. That night, the stars above Umuokwe looked peaceful. But the next morning would bring a storm Ijeoma was not ready for. The next morning started like any other. Ijeoma was sweeping the compound while Obinna washed their small car. Suddenly, the sound of sirens filled the air. 2 police vans stopped in front of their gate. 3 policemen jumped out, holding papers and shouting. "Where is Obinna Naji?" Obinna came out, surprised. "I am the one." "What is going on?" The man in front pointed at him. "You are under arrest for fraud." Ijeoma dropped her broom. "Fraud? My husband? No, you must be making a mistake." Obinna looked confused. "Officer, I don't understand. Fraud? I don't even have a bank account big enough for that." The policemen ignored him. They grabbed his hands and began to pull him toward their van. Ijeoma ran to them, crying, "Please, don't take him. My husband is innocent." "What did he do?" One officer pushed her aside. "Madam, follow us to the station if you want to talk." Neighbors gathered quickly. Some whispered, "I knew it. He was too quiet to be clean." Another said, "No, Obinna can never do such a thing. He is a good man." Ijeoma's heart was heavy. She watched as they pushed Obinna into the van. He looked out the window and shouted, "Ijeoma, don't cry. I will be fine." But Ijeoma fell to her knees, crying as the van drove away. Her neighbor, Mama Ngozi, came to hold her. "My daughter, wipe your tears. Maybe this is just a small misunderstanding." Ijeoma stood up slowly, her face full of dust and tears. "I must find help," she said. "They can't take my husband for what he didn't do." Mama Ngozi nodded. "Do you know any lawyer?" Ijeoma thought for a moment, then her eyes widened. "Yes. Barrister Namdi. My boss at the law firm. He is powerful. He can help." She wiped her face and looked toward the road, her heart beating fast. She didn't know that the man she was about to run to for help would soon turn her life upside down. As she rushed to prepare for the journey to her boss's office, a quiet voice in her heart whispered, "Ijeoma, be careful who you trust." The next morning, Ijeoma wore her best dress neatly. Her eyes were swollen from crying all night, but she was determined to fight for her husband. She entered the big office building in Enugu where she worked. She walked straight to her boss's door and knocked softly. "Come in," a deep voice said. Ijeoma stepped inside. Barrister Namdi sat behind his large wooden desk, reading a newspaper. His office smelled of expensive perfume and leather. He looked up slowly. "Ijeoma," he said, smiling, "you were not at work yesterday. Hope all is well." She dropped to her knees. "Sir, please forgive me. My husband has been arrested. They said he stole money from a company, but he is innocent. Please help me." Sir Namdi leaned back in his chair, studying her. I heard something about that case. The police said it was a big fraud. Many people lost money. Tears rolled down Ijeoma's cheeks. Sir, Obinna can never do such a thing. He is a good man. He doesn't even understand those kinds of things. Please, you are a big lawyer. Help me. I will pay you later, I promise. Nnamdi smiled slightly. Ijeoma, do you trust me? Yes, sir, she said quickly. He nodded slowly. Then let me handle it. But you know, in this life, everything has a price. Ijeoma frowned a little. Price? Sir, I don't understand. He smiled again, this time in a strange way. You will understand later. Go home. I will start work immediately. Don't worry. I will make sure your husband is released soon. Ijeoma's face lit up. Thank you, sir. God will bless you. She stood up and wiped her tears, not knowing the kind of help she was walking into. As she left his office, Nnamdi's eyes followed her. He whispered to himself, she will understand the price soon enough. Outside the office, Ijeoma smiled for the first time in days, not knowing that the man she was trusting had a plan that would destroy more than just her husband's case. Days passed. Barrister Nnamdi started handling Obinna's case. He called Ijeoma often to his office. At first he talked about the case. Then, little by little, his questions changed. One afternoon he asked, Ijeoma, how are you coping without your husband? You must feel lonely. She looked down. It is hard, sir. But I believe God will help us. He smiled. You have strong faith, and you are a beautiful woman. Your husband is lucky. Ijeoma forced a small smile, feeling uneasy. Thank you, sir. From that day, Nnamdi started calling her to his office for small things that didn't matter. Sometimes just to ask about her day. Other times to say, you are looking nice today. At first, she didn't think much of it. But soon she began to feel something was not right. One evening, everyone had gone home. Ijeoma was about to leave when her phone rang. It was Nnamdi. Ijeoma, come to my office before you go, he said. She hesitated but obeyed. When she entered, the lights were dim. Nnamdi was sitting on the edge of his desk. Ijeoma, he said softly, you know I have been working hard on your husband's case. The police are making it difficult. But I can fix it. I can make them drop the case. Her eyes brightened. Really, sir? You can do that? He nodded slowly, then stood up and came closer. But I need something from you too. Her smile faded. Something from me? Yes, he said, looking straight into her eyes. I want you close to me. Very close. Ijeoma took a step back. Sir, I am a married woman. I cannot do that. Nnamdi laughed softly. Married women still need help, my dear. You said you trust me, didn't you? Ijeoma's hands began to shake. Sir, please, this is wrong. I only came to you for help. He smiled and turned away. Go home, Ijeoma. Think about it. You know where your husband is sleeping tonight. Ijeoma stood there, speechless. She wanted to shout at him, but fear held her mouth shut. As she walked out of his office, her heart beat fast. She didn't know what to do or who to tell. That night, Ijeoma sat on her bed, crying and praying. Then her phone beeped. It was a message from Nnamdi. It read, If you love your husband, come to my house tomorrow evening. Ijeoma sat before her mirror early that morning, staring at her reflection. She looked tired, but she forced a smile and powdered her face. She picked her best yellow dress, the one that always got compliments. She whispered to herself, Ijeoma, you are doing this for Obinna. Just hold on. At the office, she greeted everyone with smiles. Even the receptionist noticed her sudden change. Madam Ijeoma, this your happiness these days, eh? And no get part 2, the girl said playfully. Ijeoma forced a laugh. You know say person must try look fine, even when life no fine. Later that day, Barrister Nnamdi called her into his office. He wore a neat black suit and smiled proudly. Ijeoma, he said, leaning back in his chair, you make this office bright every time you enter. You are a special woman. She smiled faintly. Thank you, sir. He continued, I am working on your husband's case. You will soon smile again. You are lucky to have me. She swallowed hard, forcing another smile. God bless you, sir. As she walked out, her friend Amara pulled her aside. Ijeoma, I don't understand you again, oh? You and Mr. Nnamdi are now like best friends. Abi, you forget say he be lawyer and not your husband. Ijeoma looked at her, pretending to laugh. Amara, it's not what you think. I just want this case to end. Amara frowned. Be careful. Men like Mr. Namdi don't help women for free. Ijeoma turned away quickly, hiding the fear in her eyes. That night, she sat alone in her small sitting room, looking at her husband's picture on the wall. Obinna, she whispered, I will do whatever it takes to bring you back home. Even if it breaks me, but she didn't know that her sacrifice was about to turn into her deepest pain. The next morning, Ijeoma would overhear something that would change everything she thought she knew. It was a hot afternoon. Ijeoma went to deliver some case files to Namdi's office. His door was slightly open. As she raised her hand to knock, she heard his voice from inside. Yes, I destroyed the evidence myself, he said over the phone. The man is guilty, but his wife, she is mine now. Ijeoma froze. Her heart stopped for a moment. She stood behind the door, her hand shaking. No, it can't be, she whispered under her breath. Namdi laughed from inside. Yes, she thinks I'm helping her husband. Foolish woman, she will soon understand who controls her life. Ijeoma covered her mouth with her hand to stop herself from screaming. Her eyes filled with tears. After a few seconds, she quietly walked away and hid behind a pillar. She couldn't breathe well. Her thoughts ran wild. So he lied. He destroyed the evidence. My husband. Oh God. Later that evening, Namdi saw her at the reception. Ijeoma, come to my office. We need to discuss something important. She looked at him with fear in her eyes, but forced a smile. Yes, sir. I will come later. He smiled confidently. Don't keep me waiting, my dear. She nodded and walked away quickly. At the bus stop, she cried silently, covering her face with her bag. People looked at her but said nothing. She whispered, What will I do now? If I speak, my husband will die in that cell. If I keep quiet, I will live in this pain. Her heart was heavy, her world was breaking, and she knew her next move would decide everything. That night, Ijeoma made a decision, but it was a decision that would lead her into deeper trouble. Weeks turned into months. Obinna's case was no longer talked about. Each time Ijeoma asked Namdi for an update, he gave her the same answer: be patient. One afternoon, Obinna's younger brother, Chuka, came to her house. His face was full of anger. Sister Ijeoma, he said, standing at the door, you told us your boss would help. It's almost a year now. Why is my brother still in prison? Ijeoma couldn't look at him. She turned her face away. Chuka, I am trying. These things take time. Chuka shook his head. Trying? Or you have forgotten him? Don't talk to me like that, she shouted, her voice shaking. Chuka looked at her closely. Sister, you look different. You dress fine now. You smell like perfume. My brother is suffering, and you are shining. Tell me, what is going on? Tears filled her eyes. You don't understand, Chuka. Please go. He shook his head sadly and left. That night, Ijeoma sat on the floor of her small sitting room, crying. God, what have I done? I only wanted to save my husband. Just then, her phone rang. It was Namdi. Ijeoma, why didn't you come to the office today? He asked. She wiped her tears. Sir, I'm tired. I want to stop all this. I can't continue like this anymore. There was silence on the phone. Then Namdi laughed a slow, cold laugh. Stop? Ijeoma, you forget I own you now. If you leave me, your husband will never come out. I will make sure of that. Her hands shook as she held the phone. You can't do that. You promised to help. I promised, Namdi said, his voice now calm and proud. But promises can change. He ended the call. Ijeoma threw the phone on the floor and screamed. She felt trapped like a bird locked in a cage. The next morning, Ijeoma would wake up to a piece of news that would shake the whole city of Enugu. The sun had not fully risen when people began knocking on doors and shouting in the streets. Have you heard? Barrister Namdi's law firm Don Scatter. Oh! Ijeoma ran out, confused. What happened? She asked her neighbor. They said the police arrested him this morning. They found out he was hiding evidence in many cases. The man is finished. Ijeoma's heart jumped. She stood still, her hands on her chest. So, it's true, she whispered. People gathered around the compound, talking and laughing. I always knew that man was a crook, one man said. Too proud. Another woman added, God don catcham. Ijeoma went back into her house and sat on the floor. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Thank you, God, she whispered. But what about Obinna? 2 weeks later, a new lawyer was sent to take over Nnamdi's old cases. He called Ijeoma into his office. Madam, I went through your husband's file. He was innocent. Someone hid the evidence that could free him. But we found it now. Tears of joy rolled down her face. So, my husband will come home? The lawyer nodded. Very soon. After 2 long years, Obinna finally returned home. But he was no longer the man she once knew. He looked thinner, older, and his eyes were cold. Ijeoma ran to him crying, Obinna, my love, you're home. But he didn't hug her back. He just stood there staring. Ijeoma, he said quietly, I heard everything. She froze. Everything? Yes, he said, his voice calm but full of pain. What you did, and who you did it with. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Obinna turned away slowly, leaving her standing in tears, and what he said next would break her heart completely. Ijeoma dropped to her knees, tears covering her face like rain. Obinna, please listen to me, she cried. I did it to save you. I didn't want you to die in prison. I only wanted to help. Obinna stood there, quiet for a moment. His eyes were filled with pain. You helped me, he asked softly, by selling your body to the man who destroyed me. Obinna, no, she shouted. It wasn't like that. I thought he was truly helping us. I didn't know he lifted his hand, stopping her. Don't say another word. He turned his face away. You should have trusted God, not your boss. You chose a man over your husband. You broke us. Ijeoma reached out and held his leg, weeping. Please forgive me, Obinna. I did everything because I love you. He slowly pulled his leg away. Love? You don't hurt someone you love like this. Without another word, he walked out of the house. The door closed behind him. The sound echoed in her heart. She cried all night. The neighbors heard her but said nothing. Everyone knew what had happened. Days turned to weeks. Obinna never returned. His family took him away to live in the village. Ijeoma lost her job, lost her house, and lost herself. One morning, she packed her few clothes into a small bag. She looked around the empty room that once held laughter. It's over, she whispered. I must start again. She took a bus to her mother's village, Umuwaka, and began a new life. She started selling food by the roadside, serving travelers and villagers who barely noticed her sadness. But one thing about life it never forgets. Just when Ijeoma thought her past was gone, someone she never wanted to see again was already on his way to find her. It was a quiet evening. The sun was going down. Ijeoma was at her small food stand by the road, turning soup in a big pot. The smell of fried fish filled the air. Children were laughing nearby, and she smiled softly at them. It was one of her peaceful days. Then she heard the sound of a car, a black SUV stopping near her stand. The car engine went off. She looked up and wiped her hands on her wrapper. A man stepped out wearing dark glasses and a fine black suit. He looked rich, important, and somehow familiar. As he walked closer, her heart began to beat fast. The man slowly removed his glasses. Her spoon dropped. The pot nearly slipped from her hand. Jesus Christ, she whispered. Nnamdi? Barrister Nnamdi smiled, his teeth shining. Ijeoma, it's been a long time. She froze. Her heart felt like it stopped moving. What are you doing here? What do you want from me? He looked around the small food stand and laughed softly. So this is where the great Ijeoma of Enugu is hiding. From office chair to roadside bench, her voice shook. Leave me alone. Please. I don't want any trouble again. He took a slow step closer. Trouble? No, I didn't come for trouble. He smiled again, that same wicked smile she could never forget. I came to buy something more than food. She stepped back, holding the wooden spoon like a weapon. What do you mean? Nnamdi looked straight into her eyes. I want you back, and this time I will not let you run away. Ijeoma's hands trembled. Her breathing became heavy. The road was empty, no one around to help. She whispered, if you try anything, I will scream. Nnamdi laughed quietly. Scream all you want, Ijeoma. Nobody can save you now. Before Ijeoma could move, Nnamdi's driver opened the back door of the SUV, and what she saw inside made her heart stop. Ijeoma stood still as the black SUV stopped beside her food stand again. Her heart beat fast, but this time she did not shake. Barrister Nnamdi came out, smiling with pride, wearing his dark glasses like a king. "Ijeoma," he said, his voice smooth and proud, "you look even more beautiful than before. I told you I would come back." She dropped the spoon she was holding and looked him in the eyes. "Nnamdi, listen well," she said, her voice firm. "Whatever you came for, you will not find it here." "I am not the woman you used to control." Nnamdi smiled, taking slow steps toward her. "You still have fire in your eyes. I like that, but don't pretend you don't remember what we shared." Ijeoma stepped back and held a bowl of hot soup in her hand. "What we shared was pain and shame. Leave me before I pour this on you." Nnamdi's smile slowly disappeared. "Careful, Ijeoma. You think you can talk to me like that and go free?" She pointed toward the road. "Leave before people gather here. You are nothing to me anymore." He looked at her for a few seconds, then smirked. "You can act brave, but you will come back to me. You can't hide from me forever." He entered his car and drove away, leaving dust behind. Ijeoma stood there breathing hard, her hands shaking. "No," she whispered to herself. "This time I will not run. I will fight back." That night, she couldn't sleep. Nnamdi's words kept echoing in her head. She remembered everything, the pain, the shame, the tears. But as the cock crowed, she sat up on her bed and wiped her face. "This time," she said softly, "I will bring him down." Ijeoma was about to start a dangerous plan that could either free her or destroy her completely. 2 days later, Ijeoma went to see a female lawyer named Adaora. She worked with the government and had always admired Ijeoma's courage and honesty. Adaora welcomed her warmly. "Ijeoma, it's been a long time. You look worried. What's wrong?" Ijeoma sighed and sat down. "Adaora, I want to expose a man. Barrister Nnamdi. He ruined my marriage, destroyed other people's lives, and still walks free. I want to end his evil for good." Adaora looked serious. "That man again. I've heard stories about him, but if you want to stop him, we need proof." "Strong proof." Ijeoma leaned forward, her eyes firm. "I know how to get it. I will make him confess everything with his own mouth." Adaora frowned. "How will you do that?" "I will set him up," Ijeoma said boldly. "We will arrange a meeting in a hotel. I'll pretend to want to talk about my husband's case. You'll hide and record the whole thing." Adaora thought for a moment, then nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it can work. We just need to be careful." Ijeoma smiled faintly for the first time. "I'm ready. I've been quiet for too long." 2 days later, the plan was ready. They booked a room at the Royal Garden Hotel in Enugu. Hidden cameras were fixed behind the curtains and under the flower vase. Adaora tested the recorder twice. It worked perfectly. That evening, Ijeoma picked up her phone and dialed Nnamdi's number. He answered almost at once. "Ah, Ijeoma," he said with excitement. "I was waiting for your call." "Sir," she said softly, pretending to sound shy, "I want to see you. There's something I must tell you about the past. It's important." Nnamdi chuckled. "I knew you'd come around." "Text me the place." She sent him the hotel address, her hand slightly shaking. After she hung up, Adaora touched her shoulder gently. "Remember, whatever happens, stay calm. We'll be listening." Ijeoma nodded. "He thinks I'm the same woman he used years ago. But this time, he's the one walking into the trap." What Nnamdi didn't know was that this meeting would change everything and expose his darkest secrets. The evening came. Ijeoma sat in the hotel room, her hands shaking a little. She wore a simple dress and kept looking at the door. Adaora was in the next room with 2 police officers, watching through a small hole in the wall. Then the door opened. Nnamdi walked in proudly, wearing his fine black suit and strong perfume. He smiled wide when he saw her. "Ijeoma," he said proudly, "I knew you would come back to me." "You see, no one can resist me for long." Ijeoma forced a small smile. "I just wanted peace, Barrister. I've been thinking about everything. Maybe it's time to talk." "Good," he said, sitting down with pride. "You made me happy once. You can do it again." Ijeoma laughed softly and poured him a drink. "Let's relax first," she said sweetly, "then we talk." He took the drink and sipped slowly. "Ah, this is nice." Just like old times, Ijeoma smiled again, though her heart was beating fast. "Barrister, I have one question. That time when you hid the papers that could have freed my husband, why did you really do it?" Namdi leaned back and smiled proudly. "Because of you. I didn't want him free. You were mine, Ijeoma. That man didn't deserve you." Ijeoma's eyes became hard. "So you admit it?" "Yes," Namdi said, lifting his glass. "I destroyed it myself. Nobody can ever prove it." Just then, Adaora opened the door and stepped in with 2 police officers. "Actually, barrister," she said with a calm voice, "you just proved it yourself." Namdi jumped up from the chair. "What is this nonsense?" Adaora held up a small recorder. "Your words are enough. Everything is recorded." Namdi tried to move toward the door, but the officers blocked him. "You're under arrest," one officer said. He shouted, "Ijeoma, you set me up." Ijeoma looked at him, tears in her eyes, but her voice steady. "You ruined my life, Namdi, but this time, justice will ruin you." The officers dragged him out while he shouted her name. The room became quiet. Adaora hugged Ijeoma softly. "You did it. It's over now." Ijeoma nodded slowly. "Yes, but I don't know if my heart will ever be free." Ijeoma had won, but what she didn't know was that her victory would not bring her husband back. After Namdi's arrest, Adaora helped Ijeoma send the video to Obinna. She waited every day for a call, a message, something. But the days turned into weeks and nothing came. One afternoon, she packed her small bag and traveled to Obinna's village. She found him sitting outside his mother's house, looking older and quiet. "Obinna," she said softly, her eyes wet. "I did it. I brought him down. I did it for us." Obinna looked up slowly. His eyes were sad but calm. "I saw the video," he said quietly. "I know everything now." Ijeoma stepped closer. "Then please, come back to me. Let's start again." Obinna stood up and looked away. "Ijeoma," he said, "some wounds never heal. What happened between you and that man?" "I can't forget it. I forgive you, but I can't return." Her voice broke. "Obinna, please don't leave me again. I've suffered enough." He looked at her once more and then walked into the house without another word. Ijeoma fell on her knees, crying silently. That night, she slept at a friend's house, her eyes swollen from tears. When she woke up the next morning, she whispered, "Maybe this is my fate. I will live, but I will never forget Ijeoma's heart was broken." But life still had one more surprise waiting for her. Months passed, then years. Ijeoma threw herself into her small food business. Every pain became her strength. She woke up early, cooked with love, and treated everyone kindly. People started coming from far places to eat her food. Drivers stopped by, students came, even government workers began to eat at her place. Soon she saved enough money to build a bigger restaurant. She named it Ijeoma's Kitchen. It became the biggest restaurant in Umuaka. She employed young girls who had no hope and always told them, "Never sell your body for favor. Your body belongs to your husband. No man's promise is worth your soul." Years later, her business grew even more. She opened another branch in the city. People traveled long distances just to eat her food and hear her story. One evening, she sat outside her restaurant, watching the sunset. The air was calm. She smiled softly and said, "I lost my marriage, but I did not lose my life. God gave me another chance." A woman who came to eat walked up to her and said, "Madam Ijeoma, your story gives women hope. You turned pain into strength." Ijeoma smiled faintly. "Yes," she said, "pain taught me wisdom. I will never forget." The camera slowly focused on her face as her voice echoed softly. "One advice for every married woman: never sell your body for favor. What you lose might never return." Her true love was gone forever, but her story became a light that helped others find their way. Never trade your body or soul for help. God can test you, but he will never ask you to sin to survive. Ijeoma's story reminds us, when man says no way, God still has a way. If you believe this message, write in the comments, "My body and soul belong to God." Don't forget to subscribe for more true life lessons that will touch your heart.